Okay, so this morning we're going to work with potted plants. And one of the things I like about that is it's kind of a continuation of everything we're already doing. We've already been doing, and we're adding on another section, which is dealing with something I like to call the envelope of shape. Those of you who have taken figure drawing will be familiar with the envelope. You might remember it. So, but I'm going to introduce it again in this form. And this is what it is. I like to think that when you've got like plants in a pot, by the way, you can draw these things if you want to, or you don't have to. I don't think they're really important to the drawing. I really liked more the composition of this piece. You will see, oh, look at that. I went right through the leaves. How dare I? That if I were to draw a kind of special shaped envelope around which all of the leaves would fall, it would kind of fall into this category. So this is the ultimate in terms of kind of mapping things out. I want to quickly show you how I think most people will approach this drawing who don't know how to draw. If you see yourself in here, don't worry. If you don't, then that's really fantastic. Then you've learned something. This is how most people will approach this drawing. I'm exaggerating. Right? What is wrong with this? Can anybody say what's wrong with this? What's wrong? There's a couple of things wrong. What's wrong?
It's flat. It's flat.
The bottom is flat, right? We know, right? That even though the bottom is actually realistically flat, that it curves up on the edges. That's one thing. Excellent. What else?
And you haven't used the paper properly.
I haven't used the paper. What do you mean?
That it's so small and in the wrong
place. It's
be
placed in the wrong place. Yes, exactly. What else? What else is wrong with that technique?
It looks like you're drawing what your brain thinks it's seeing rather than what it's actually seeing.
Bing, bing, bing. And what tells you that? What information? Yes, Jackie, exactly. And I'm just drawing this out of you to sort of get you. It's the leaves, right? So notice, and you'll find yourself wanting to do this. I did not really look at what these leaves were. These leaves do not look the same as what is here, right? They're just kind of, some are a little bit bigger, some are smaller. And people are always like, well, why doesn't this drawing succeed? Right? Because you get tired. You want to just have the leaves be all the same shape and size. So that is the thing that happens with a drawing like this. We get a little bit lazy, right? We want like things to kind of, and tired, and that's when the left brain takes over. So one of the things I really like to do when I'm dealing with, we're going to still do this. Oops, what's going on here? We're still going to do this. We're still going to draw our line down the middle, right? We're still going to do that. And I'm still going to find the halfway point, but it helps to, I like to think about, okay, the leaves are in this section and they take up a certain amount of space. And this helps me see how much that is. So in this particular case, I'm gonna guess, we'll see how right I am this morning. It's kind of off yesterday. Up here a little bit. Hermes, no. Okay, hang on. Come here, you. I do. Ooh, here he is. He says hello. Hello, everybody. Hello.
Let's see. Wait.
Hold on. Let me get him up. I'll get him up.
Oh, big boy.
Yeah, he's
Such
big.
a big boy. He's like,
Where?
I'm a disruptor. I'm a disruptor.
Just wanted to say hello.
He's a lovely little guy. We'll see how long this lasts. So one of the things I like to think about here, hold on, I'm removing this one, is how much like vertically how much proportionally does my leaf section take up compared to my pot section? So the other thing people might do is just kind of put the pot here, divide this in half. But in reality, the leaf section takes up a little bit more than the pot does. Here's my pastel. Here we are. Right? Here's your halfway point. Here's the top. Here's the bottom. So we can still do things like, and then this kind of where the leaves are sticking out helps me see kind of in relation to the pot. How far out does the envelope go? And you can see the envelope comes out a little bit on both sides, out away from the pot. So this starts to help me see. Can you guys see this? This is like how it starts to help me see kind of where things are. So and this is, I would say, a fairly simple subject. So this is a pretty easy thing to see. Don't worry, I've got more for you. So I'm drawing my vertical and my halfway. One. And maybe up here.
Oh.
Right in the middle. Amazing. Yep, there we go. Okay, there's my halfway point. I know that my pot kind of comes down. My pot is sort of
I
here.
am not drinking the water.
Yes, no drinking of the water, kitties. My pot is down here. I really love having things that tell me where to put something, where something starts and ends. I think that is like, it's like a map. So as I sketch this out, let's see what adding the quarter points will do. If I add the quarter points on here, I can see a couple of other things. I can see kind of where the mouth of the pot is, right? Where the top of the pot is. I can see, and actually this line is what I'm looking at. So there's the top of the pot here. And then maybe, actually, I'll bring this down a little bit. Well, look at that. So if I add my quarter points here. One, two, three, four. If I add my quarter points here, this bottom part of my pot is almost halfway in the quarters, between the two quarters. Top part of the pot is like here. And then I can see that like this big leaf right here is kind of contained, which I'm going to draw first. We'll talk about that later. Why? It's kind of contained in this quarter. I can see these guys are kind of out here, right? They're up here. My quarter points start to help me see where things are. I find that like super helpful. By the way, what direction is the light coming from on this drawing, on this photo? What direction?
The left bottom, because it's
Yes. Well, the left. The left.
yeah.
Why?
Well, it's just the far left leaf. I can't see if the light is hitting it from underneath or above.
You
but
mean this one?
No, the one above it.
This one? The light
That
is hitting,
one.
it
I
just
can't-
means, so it just means the leaf is turned on the back and it's light on the back instead of.
Oh,
There's
okay,
a
so-
shadow. There's a shadow on the pot down at the bottom.
Exactly,
Yeah,
right there.
bottom
So
right.
this is super helpful. Yes, Osiris. So this is like super helpful. This is part of it. So Jackie, you went into left brain a little bit there. Let me tell you why. Because, and this is great. Thank you for doing that. Because you were like, I don't understand what's happening with this leaf. Therefore you shut down. Doesn't matter whether the leaf is one direction or the other. It just matters whether it's lighter or darker, right? It doesn't matter. This is, in truth, this leaf is just turned around, as leaves do, because they have a kind of organic growth. But your expectation is that all the leaves will be facing forward like little soldiers, right? So it shouldn't make a difference whether things are facing forward or facing back. It's good to be thinking about like what is light and what is dark. And this is a great one. And we have some stuff in front of the other. All right. So as I start to sketch this out, I'm also going to, at the quarter point, I'm going to run this across. And we're just going to check how wide, how tall it is. Aha. So the width of the vase, of the pot, is the same as the height of the pot up to the bottom lip. Right, and that's this line right here. So I can take, I'm just checking my measurements. I need to come up a little bit. Oh, interesting. I'm bringing up my middle line. I'm bringing up my bottom lip a little bit. So as I come here, I can come across here and mark on either side. Width of my pot up to here. Check. I made it a little bit wide here. I'm going to bring it in a little bit on each side. And then I know I can kind of sketch in. Not getting into too much detail with the shape of my pot, but I can do my straight line, and then I can come down here and do a straight line across and then up, curve up a little bit at each edge.
How would you do the width of the pot if you weren't drawing it exactly the same size? If you weren't taking if you're doing something more proportional?
Oh, I'm not doing it the same size. I'm sorry. I totally did that, didn't I? You know what? I screwed that up. That's what happened. I do it the way I always do it, Bettina. You answer me that question. Tell me. I messed up that. I messed that up. I totally messed that up. You tell me what I would do. What do I do? You know the answer to this question because I do it every single time we have a lesson. So think about it. What would I do? Is it actually true that these are the same size? Yeah, I just happen to have drawn these pretty much the same size.
I mean,
what would I do?
I don't know what you would do. I know that you would measure the height of the pot and then
yes.
And then with your hands, figure out what the width is. I don't know. You
Now
maybe start with.
Can anybody help her out? Who can help her out with this?
You would measure the width and the height.
Yeah,
Yes.
compared.
The width of the
compared-
height, right? So I see here what it is. Oh, wait, yes. I see here what it is on the source. I come here to get my measurements. That's simple.
It's just
Right.
that sometimes what probably throws you is that sometimes Leah says, and it happens that the height is twice the width or something, but it doesn't matter.
It
Seeing
doesn't
as you
matter
measure-
what the actual size is. Actually, what happened this morning, because as I was telling Sandra, I'm really tired. I think I went from here over to here. But that was a mistake on my part. That was a mistake on my part, Bettina. So Bettina, you should know, I want you to start really cementing this in your head. If I'm checking this against this, I'm then looking for the same proportion here. So I'm coming here. If this is the same width as this, then I'm going to come here and make my width the same.
All right, you're just
Right.
making the same proportion.
Yes.
The same, yes, that is the entire essence of drawing right there. I want you to cement that in your mind. Every single time you draw, that's what you're doing. I'm never drawing these exactly the same. This I kind of happened to make this about the same size. And because I was tired, I came over here and did this. But honestly, this is the essence of drawing. So this is, if you need to find the proportions, and that's what I've been doing in every single lesson since we've started. I want you to keep that in your minds. That's it. There's nothing else besides that. Proportions are everything. That's why we find quarter points, halfway points, because it doesn't matter how big or small the halfway point is. It's a proportion thing, right? Then you can stay away from numbers. this is this much, kind of this much, right? Because you know that essentially your proportions, as long as your proportions are the same, you're going to have something that's relatively the same. Everybody got that? This is it. If you don't get this, you can't draw. If you get this, everything gets easier to draw. If you understand this, everything gets easier to draw. So now I'm going to sketch in using, here's my 2 quarter points. I'm going to kind of sketch in my little envelope here. I'm not drawing my leaves yet. I'm kind of sketching in my envelope. Let's see, you want to come out a little bit. I'm guessing, looking at the shape right now, do I have it right? This comes up more like that. So I'm kind of creating this shape, and then to check this shape, to check the spaces, I can come from this center. This isn't exactly in the center, but I can basically come from the center here and check how far out do I go, right? It's about a little bit more, it's about up to here. So I can come here, find that similar point, come out. I can come here, check. It's a little bit higher, comes up to about here. So I need to bring this out a little bit more. A couple of other things I can do, I can check, I can check. So I can check 2 things. One of the things I like to do is check the angle of where I can sort of create an extra space where this edge here, this little leaf here, kind of, if I were to draw a line straight from the edge of the leaf down here, how angled would that be? What kind of shape would I make? It's the same here. So this is the leaf that's sticking out the most. It looks like a little bubble machine. So I am partly giving you guys a crutch by drawing these in for you. What I want you to start to get is that to get these on anything, you're going to be here, and I'm going to pop up my screen so you can see. How do you do this when you can't, like draw things? What if you're drawing a 3-dimensional object, or what if you don't have the capacity? What if you're just looking at your coffee cup and you want to draw it? This is how you use these measurements in the same way. Ultimately, what you're going to do, if you can see, I've got my hand straight out here. So I'm coming over here and I'm measuring with my hand. I'm checking to see how my arm is straight. And if you look at the screen, so if you look on my right, you'll see my arm is straight. I'm holding my arm straight up. If you look on my left, you will see that I can see I have lined up the top of the pencil with our halfway point, and I put my finger here at the bottom part. So keeping my arm straight, sorry, it's weird because when I'm looking at the thing, I can come up. Wait, I need to stand up to do this. Gotta keep your arm straight. This is kind of faded away. So I'm keeping my arm straight. I have now, with my finger and the top of my pencil, I have recreated the halfway point, and I'm going to check it to see, do I get the halfway point here? Yeah, I did. And then I can come over to my drawing and do the same thing. Oops, there we are. You see that? So I'm checking. Ultimately, I'm keeping my arm straight. If I bend my arm, if I go like this and then like this, I can't, that doesn't work because I'm changing my angles. My arm has to be free floating. It has to be straight. I can't bend it back. I can't go like this because then I will have lost my angle. So my challenge, if you see people going like this, right? You see people in drawing class going like this is what they're doing. What I'm doing for you, because you're all beginners and you don't understand proportions yet, really, right, on the two-dimensional space, is I'm drawing them in for you so you can see them. But ultimately, you're going to get to the point where you are going to find them just by holding your pencil out flat and looking. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If it do- Yeah. So that's the progression. I'm kind of like giving you a little bit of I'm creating an artificial thing that's not really there because I want you to see it. I want you to see it and I can draw it for you on the three-dimensional planes, but ultimately you're going to have to find those for yourself if you want to learn to draw. If you want to draw what you can see. And that's the difference between kind of guessing and actually knowing what you're doing. So if I'm holding my arm out like this, once I get my leaf in, I'm going to check and see, is my leaf, if I hold my arm at this and I line it up with the bottom of the pot and the edge of the leaf, does that angle match? You can see it mostly does. I think it needs to come out a little bit. Okay, that's a lot of information. So I'm just going to keep repeating it in all the different ways. The next step, and actually, why don't you guys send that in to me? Where is my phone? My phone
Sorry,
here.
I didn't catch how much is the width of the box on the envelope for on the top.
You need to, I want you to check it yourself.
Okay.
You have the capacity to check it. Check it
Okay.
like this. Stand back here and check it.
Mhm.
Don't have me tell you.
Okay.
That is fantastic, Francesca. Congratulations. You just graduated to the next level.
Thank
Here,
you.
right? You can check it. You can hold your pencil up against your phone. So you can either step back from your computer, right? Or you can put your computer flat on the ground, or you can have a printout if you want to, and you can check that proportion. I want you to check that proportion and tell me, how big is it? Sorry, not to be, I think that's a fantastic, I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to, well, I am trying to be a little bit of a drill sergeant. Never mind. I lied. I'm totally trying to be a drill sergeant because you guys are ready for it. And this is kind of as I'm thinking about teaching, as I'm learning to teach this class, I'm really learning. I'm going to give you crutches and then I'm going to take them away. Because ultimately, I want you to know where we're going. Some people, what usually happens in drawing is some people are slightly better at like kind of evaluating certain distances, so they can kind of approximate where things are. That is until things become too, like, so perspective gets involved, foreshortening gets involved. When things go differently than how you expect them to, when you're translating from the 3D to 2D. So what I'm teaching you are the rules of drawing, of how to translate and bring something from a 3D surface to a two-dimensional surface. And that takes time. It's like a language. It takes time to learn. So go ahead and send these in. I want to see a few. Okay, let's see. I see. Julia. It's pretty good, Julia, so far. I think, Julia, this comes up higher. Mine does too. Higher than the quarter point. You have this, sorry, you have this line lower than the quarter point. Bring it up a little bit higher so that it lines up higher. Then I think, and then let's see. This one. Yeah, other one looks in pretty good shape. Nice. The better your maps get, the easier it is. Let's see. 1, 2. Jackie, you,
Same
Um,
thing.
yeah, same thing. And also, I'm just double checking. No, you're in good shape right now. I just had to check where things were. Okay. Yep, good job, you guys. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good, Yolanda. Good. Osiris. Osiris, your pot is up too high. Bring it down. So here's, bring it down. So this is the halfway point, and this is the quarter point. This pot will come halfway between these 2 points. So between the halfway point and the 3/4 point, there's a halfway. That's where your pot goes. So you just have it up a little too high. Bring it down and you'll be in good shape. Anybody else? And then we'll talk about kind of placing things. So this might seem kind of tedious to you, but it's everything in drawing. Let's see. 1, 2, yeah. Good job, Julia. Excellent, you got it. All right. So now, here's another drawing rule that I find to be really helpful. When we start with these leaves, which ones are we going to start with?
One's improved.
Yes. Star gold star today, Sandra. Absolutely. You're going to draw what's in front. It's very logical because we draw what we can see first. So I'm sketching that out. This is in front. This is in front. Let's see. This is in front. And these are in front. So I'm going to start with the things that are in front before I try to get the stems or anything. Can you see how like all of a sudden easier it gets to kind of get these shapes in because you've figured out, let's see. I lost my quarter points. I'll erase this. So I have my quarter points back in place and nothing else. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, that's quarter point. So this first leaf here kind of comes out and up. And it comes in, it's not as big as the quarter point, it's kind of contained in this section. Right. And then there's the light part of the leaf and the dark part of the leaf. So notice this leaf isn't exactly straight, it's a little bit curved. Hey. It's an approximate. I can change it if I want to. And then up here, kind of right at the quarter point over to this corner here, I've got this shaped leaf. I'm finding this kind of midway line really helpful because it helps me kind of shape my leaves. This one is almost right next to it. So there's a little negative space here that's formed here, and then it goes kind of straight. Oh, oh, ah, kitty, get down. I love him so much, and he's so hard in the class. He's not a good class kitty. All right, hang on, you guys. I've got to get him out. I think you get.
He knows
Yeah.
what will do to his patch.
Yeah, that's right. Here, hold on. I'll be right back. I will come back here. See how these little envelopes help? They're kind of amazing. Because they really help you kind of see how far you need to go. And this last one here. Notice I'm not even really drawing the top of the pot because that is not in front. This comes in like this. Wait. You're higher. No. Maybe I bring this up just a little higher. Yep, I sure do. So there we go. There's my four leaves in the front. Two, I can see the spine down the middle, and three of them I can't. I know it's so tedious. Francesca, that looks right. Bettina, I think this might be a little far out. But hold on, I'm gonna check. Oh, that looks okay. So, Bettina, the only thing I want to show you, your envelope is coming out a little far. It's bending out. Yours is doing this instead of going straight up and down. These leaves are kind of straight up and down. So you're going to find your leaf, this is too far out. So bring this is what you're doing. You need to erase that and bring this line straight up and down from here, that point.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And you'll observe it in your drawing right now, right? The map is a little bit off. As we know, thing doesn't take a lot to put things off. And don't worry, I have another, for those of you who finish this fast, I have another one for you. So some of you are gonna work on this for a while and others who are going to be able to finish it quickly and move on to something else. I have another slightly more complicated one.
Ouch.
You all right there?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just annoyed with my penguin.
Penguin. We were discussing the word for penguin in all the different languages. Julia, let's see here. Yeah, that looks. So Julia, I would say this is a little bit bigger. This is a little bit bigger. There's less space. Can you see how little you've made it? You've kind of made it like about that size.
Yeah, I can
Right?
see that.
Look at how it's related both to this center line and also to the leaf next to it. It's almost, there's almost no space.
Mm. Yeah.
Mhm. This is where negative space really helps to help you kind of determine size. Look at its relationship here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
It's weird, isn't it? Isn't that a weird way of thinking about it? It's a strange way of thinking about it, but once you get used to it, you can't understand how anybody would do anything different, right? Because it doesn't, let's see, Jackie. Yeah. Let's see. Nope, Jackie, and that's pretty good. You know, this is not exactly straight. And I feel like, Jackie, you could work. I feel like Julia's, this comes a little bit, I want you to look at this shape a little bit more clearly. It's not so you did the thing, right? You just did like the way it's too even. Look at this shape.
Yep.
Look at how the line goes in relation to the shape. This leaf is bothering you, isn't it?
It is. That
It's
leaf
not
is
doing,
crazy.
it's not doing what you think it should be doing.
Well, could I not? No, I guess I have to. The line in the middle of that leaf is bothering me.
Well, you have to put it in, so you're
I
gonna
have
have to
put
figure
in.
it out.
Okay, all
You have
right.
to look and see what's happening. Look at it
Okay.
shape by shape.
Okay.
No, you can't.
I can't. All right, I will.
But I want you to think about why it's bothering you. It's
Why is
not
it-
that hard. You're
Mm.
just, it's bothering you because it doesn't follow the shape of a standard leaf that's looking right at you.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so Osiris, this is pretty good, but this leaf needs to come, this first leaf here, right here, needs to come between Q1 and halfway. So it's in this space. You have it down a little bit low. You have it down about here. Bring it up to here. Bring it up higher, and you'll, but I like the correction to the pot, really good. Everything else is good. Francesca. So yeah, Francesca, I'm going to tell you the same thing. Look at the shape of your, you guys are doing good, but I want you to look at the shape of your leaf. This shape, it's worth getting that shape kind of right. It's not just a standard curve. It's like curved in some places, it's straight, it comes in. Notice how quickly your brain wants to just make everything even and perfect. Mhm. Yeah, Bettina, good. Very good. Excellent. Do you see how it helped when you? So the
So
only,
when I was
Oh,
drawing
yep.
the envelope, I was imagining it from that little tiny hair kind of growing off the end, and it made me think of the angle as like 11 o'clock, but it's
No,
really
it's
closer to.
really, they're absolutely,
closer to-
these two leaves are right lined up with each other. They're lined up, if you go straight up and down. So if one leaf, oh, look at that. I need to bring my leaf out a little bit more. So if your leaf is bending too much out, this leaf is bending a little bit too much out. So really it's lined up exactly. See how they're
Yeah.
pretty much lined up exactly. So right now you've got this one leaning. Not to be, oh yeah, this one's actually coming out too far this way. So you need to bring him in so that his tip lines up with this tip. Otherwise, this is good. Harder than it looks. Ah, you're doing good, Geraldine. Looks good. Let's see. I'm checking your proportions. Yep. And Geraldine, you're kind of bending in a little bit here instead of going straight down on your pot. So this part here, you're
Right.
leaning in like this. Everything else looks pretty good. Are we ready to go on to the next? Let's see, Yolanda. Okay, Yolanda, be careful. Yes. Yes, and yet, let's see. So Yolanda, you can't see a line. You can't see a line here. There is no line to be seen here. Erase that. There's no line here. Please erase what you can't see. Look at what you see. I know, not to be a Nazi, but like, look at what you can actually see versus what you think is there. Observe when you flip out of right brain, which is looking at what's there, and you flip into left brain, which is what you think when you put in something you think should be there. Right? That is happening. We're going to move to the next step. I'll do these in blue. We're now in a position to be able to do the things in back, right? They're in relation to the things that are in the front. And that's why we do the things in front first, so we know where to put the things in the back. And then we can bring these down. We can bring this in. These can come down, right? Here's where we start to get to the detail. So when I get this in, I'm actually kind of focusing on this shape. Right? Oh, that helps me in so many ways. I'm gonna put this one in. I'm probably gonna start here on this one. I'm gonna make it a little there. I think that's what's happening. But I'll really know this shape once I get this shape in. Yeah, that looks pretty good. The line comes here. So you see how this is always, you'll see this different, we'll do this even more extremely. In the next, when we work with, we're going to do a vase with flowers, and you're going to see this even more so next week. Bam, there we go. Now we can start adding the darts. I'm going straight to those darts. Right, you start adding those darts in. Here. And now you'll notice that some plants have like light and dark sides, particularly there'll be parts of the leaf that are dark, parts of the leaf that are lighter. And everything on this side, this is not a light, but it's lighter. So you see, I'm kind of putting my darks in around it. Also, the dark of this leaf is not quite as dark as this leaf. So this leaf reads as a little bit darker. Now I'm kind of darkening. See how I'm kind of like adding my midtones in. Want there to be a soft edge, so I'm trying to create that soft edge with my pencil. Not half as fun as creating a soft edge in paint, but whatever. Way more fun in charcoal. Right. This is super light. This side is like a 2. This side is more like a 2.5. And notice that it's kind of darker along the edge of the leaf going to the right. That makes sense, doesn't it? This is lighter, this is darker. So I'm starting, I'm not trying to draw every one of those spines, but I'm observing it's a little bit kind of darker going up. And then I'm kind of bringing across a general dark. Yeah. To make sure this reads as dark enough next to that. So see how I'm kind of always going back to the things that are next to it. Now I might come in and add a few darker. 5. This leaf is kind of dark in the front, dark on the right, lighter. Left, and this one is totally dark, kind of going at this angle. So I'm now reshaping it a little bit as I get that in. Interesting, isn't it? Then it's kind of lighter here, darker, but like a mid-tone here. Going into kind of lighter, even lighter here. Kind of going back and forth with my eraser and my pencil to get the kind of right shift. From medium to dark. So yes. Oh, Diana is so cute. Just makes me happy.
Yeah, but I'm not happy with him. I'm trying to get the colors better.
I'm just looking at him. You want me to tell you what my instinct would be to do?
Glaze it.
Right, a glaze it, but the question is what color, right? Right? God, you know me, y'all know me too well. I've become too typical. You know what? I think you should glaze him in ochre. Yellow ochre.
Just glazed him. I'm holding it up. I just glazed him in yellow.
How?
Let's see.
Okay,
Let's
hold
see,
on.
let's see.
So there you go.
Actually,
Hold on,
even
hold on.
works.
Let me add the spotlight.
That works well.
That works. But I would say ochre is even nicer because it's less bright and it's more like muted, right? So I think your whites will lay very nicely on top of that, your lights. Yeah.
I don't want to mute him. I want him to stand out against the bright snow.
Yeah, but you'll put brights on top of that. Remember, it's about making that the base is a little, I think the base is a little too electric blue on his
Okay.
body. And that's the problem. So push that back, then add your lights on top. And I think you will be happier with it. That would be my guess. But also there's more than one way to do this.
I'm trying to, now I'm working on the snow because I don't like that either.
Yeah. But I think it's the blue that's bothering you. I think you use phthalo, right? Am I right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, the phthalo is bothering you. It's just too, the problem with it is too electric. So it's hard to kind of control. It has its place, phthalo. I'm using it more than I used to, but it's definitely hard to control. Oh, and by the way, when you're done with this, of course. Picture of this. When you're done with this, of course, we're going to do kind of a soft edge medium. Not as dark as the leaves, right? Because nothing is dark except the kind of the inner part of the pot. Notice there's a little lost edge here where the leaf on this side comes in. But you'll do a sort of dark mid-tone, right? Which gets gradually, just like we always, just like we've done all of our. So it gets gradually, it goes from kind of a medium dark, goes from light to a medium dark to a dark. If you want to, you can mark it down. Right, get darker. If you want, you can add a little reflected, there is a reflected edge on here. It's a little hard to see, but it's there. So you can put that in. And then you want to, of course, make that soft. So probably get rid of these lines. Once you get kind of where the break is. So in these lessons, this is all about the thinking process. By the way, Francesca, was it easy to figure out how far away this one went? Was it easy to kind of figure that out?
A bit.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So you were ready to do it. It was just if you're having trouble, then I want you guys to tell me, like, I don't know how to do this, but I think you'll find.
You're just lazy.
No.
Yeah, a bit, probably.
No, it's not lazy. It's like you don't know how to do it, right? So like that's the step where we're missing it. It's like I have to make sure I explain to you how to do it. What's nice, Francesca, is I can see, Francesca, you have a very quick mind and it's easy for you to memorize things. So you memorize almost everything I say as I say it, those measurements, and then you usually just miss one. What's nice about this is I don't have to memorize anything. I just have to keep looking and checking, right? That's like an easier, more practical way. Actually, Francesca's working harder because she's like trying to remember everything I say in this very fast, right? And she gets almost every measurement except for the one. But what I want to do, Francesca, is relieve that stress of you memorizing anything. So
No, I understand. I
does that
understand.
make a sense? Isn't that an interesting idea? And this leads me to a bigger point, which is that, okay, I'm going to tell you a story now. I'm going to put my head up here. This is one of my favorite stories to tell in drawing. So I have taught drawing in many different countries all around the world. And when I lived in Croatia a long time ago, well, 2010. I taught this little mother-daughter drawing class on how to draw faces. So one of my favorite people, who is an Irish woman, brought her 5-year-old daughter into class. And so I showed them proportions and they drew as well as they could. And then I walked around and I corrected everything. So the little girl walked in, saw me go, so here's the picture, saw me like this, looking back and forth, right? Looking at the thing, looking. She walked in, her mother called me up and said, oh my God, my daughter walked into our house and she said to her dad, I know how to draw. It looks like this.
But it does
Right?
look like this.
Like this. It looks like this. And the reason it looks like this, she said that in her very thick Irish brogue. I don't know if she got the content but I did not the movement, what it looks like, right? So what tends to happen is that we get frozen, right? We stare at our drawing, we keep forgetting to look at this. So we think we should remember everything that's here in one go, right? That's a very classic, like kind of beginner move. So you stop. So this, right, is really, I'm looking just to see what this line is doing. Now I'm looking just to see how far this out is going. Now I'm looking, right? So your drawing should look like this. I can often tell if you're doing it because if you're working from the screen, then your head is bobbing up and down as you're doing it. I can see you're looking at the screen, then you're looking away. You're looking at the screen, then you're looking away. So we don't think that we can memorize anything. We assume actually that we can't memorize anything. I can only memorize one line at a time. So I'm constantly going to check line, right? The pressure is off me to try and memorize everything. Which I know you smart people all do, you memorize because that's one of the things you do in the traditional education, right? It's useful to be able to memorize things. But in this case, it doesn't help us because we can't really memorize that much. Oh, I forgot this. It's hard to memorize everything. So that's like a kind of, I don't want to call it an unlearning because I feel like these things actually work in tandem together very nicely. But I want to say it's a different way of what I'm teaching is a very different way of paying attention to a subject. And once you learn it, it becomes very organic and it translates to how you do everything else. It really segues in very nicely with every other problem solving that you do. There's an aspect of this that can be included in your problem solving. Gesundheit, Julia. Because I'm watching you. I can see you all. Yesterday, Oscar, Emma Thomason, who is the Berlin correspondent, her kid, Oscar, who's like, I think 13 or 14 now, took the class. And I was saying something like this. And he said, do you remember exactly what it was, Sandra? He said, it's just like the
No.
scientific process.
Ah,
So,
yes.
oh, yes.
I remember
we were-
exactly what he said.
Do you remember? And it was really true. So what I was saying was, stop assuming you know. Oh, I know. I was saying that, you know, it's easy when we put a line down to not know, to want to keep it in the same place, to want to not fix, you know, because fixing it is overwhelming. And I said, that's like you're falling in love with your line and you don't want to move it, right? Or get rid of it or put it in another place. And he said, that's just like the scientific process. When people fall in love with a hypothesis, and then when they find it's not working, instead of changing the hypothesis, they try to change, they try to create different situations to make the hypothesis work. And I was like, that is absolutely it. That is absolutely, he must have just observed that, right? Somebody in his class probably did something like that. So that's essentially what we're doing here. We're kind of constantly observing where we put things and what we do with them, so that when we come back, we're always willing to adjust. And I think that's the problem, right, with drawing, is that it looks kind of okay, but it's hard, it's overwhelming to feel about adjusting. So I guess what I like to think is, I think one line at a time, and I know that at any moment I could totally move things. In fact, 3/4 of the way through my painting yesterday, Diana pointed out that I wonder if we can see it still. Diana pointed out that like the top of my vase was right here. My stems were too short. I was like, shit, you're totally right. Everything I tell you guys to do, I totally did. So I'm like, how do I fix that? I brought paint in and I pulled down. Here's the original line. I don't know if you can't really see it anymore. It was up here. I brought in paint and redrew. So even when the painting was at this level, it's easy for me to drift above the lines, just like it is for you guys. And then I had to correct it. So there's this kind of space you have to hold with your drawing. That's why I like to map things out, because if I map them out, then I know that whatever changes I'm going to make, they're not going to be so extreme, right? They're going to be millimeters rather than, oh, I totally got that pot in the wrong place. And right, there are things that this mapping process helps us kind of get things out. But I think for much of it, we're holding the painting and the drawing like anything could be changed at any moment. Hello, Kitty. Here's, no, that's not Leon. Is that Leon? Let me see. I don't know who this one is. Hey, sweetheart. Meow, meow. Meow, meow.
Wow.
Meow. Yes, they take up a lot. Does that make sense to you guys? Does that ring true in any way? This is why, for me, learning to draw made me a better writer, because it made me less attached to my old ideas and more willing to throw them out to make to tweak, to make the thing work. And it also made me very hyper aware of structure, that I had to get the bigger pieces in place. Look at this. He's been all over the place, Sandra. While you were like going there, he was like,
I know, but
this,
so I
yes.
have learned to put my painting on the easel as soon as I walk away.
Yeah, he was standing looking. Hello, Bobby.
Can I run my frog past you, Leo?
Yes, please. Although I'm gonna go get Hermes first. I put him outside. So let me go do
Okay.
that and send your frog over and I'll be right back.
See if there's something wrong already.
All right. Do you guys understand what I'm saying on this? I'm hoping it's like, oh, Sandra, he's a doll. Your
Actually,
greens
I-
are super great mixing on the greens.
Oh, thank you.
Great mixing. You could go a little darker on the bottom of his eye if you wanted, and that would
You mean in terms of
Sort of-
green or in terms of black? Black.
blackish.
You mean
yeah.
in the eyeball thing?
And the eyeball and kind of on the sort of rim. If you look at this area. Can I blow
Hold
it
on,
up?
let me just watch you.
Yeah,
switch
look,
on.
see this whole area here?
Right.
There's almost a lost edge here.
Okay.
So if you can get that in, then that really, showing it connected in a way to the dark, then that really will push the eye for the right parts of the eye forward. But he's beautiful and wonderful mixing, gorgeous
Any,
mixing. What are you
any-
using?
I'm using all my greens and I'm mixing some yellow. I'm mixing some.
I see a little red in there too. I see a little bit of burnt sienna.
I've got this. Look. Yes, there is because
Yeah, a
there
little
is
bit of
some,
red.
and
Nice.
also some earths because he has earth.
Yeah, earth.
Yeah.
Yes, the green is a very earthy tone. Come on, boo boo. Come here. Come see how that.
Is the
Push.
bush okay? The plant, the stem.
Yeah, the plant looks great. So
Okay.
really, it's just now kind of
Darkening that.
strengthening a few areas around the edge of the frog to make it push up from this right to push forward. Even
So
though
what did you mean to the edge of a frog? To do what?
there, you're going to work a couple of areas around. Let's see. I don't know. Actually, I feel you've done it. You could get like, I guess, no, you've done it. Ooh, Bettina, nice. Bettina, there is a transition here from medium to dark.
Oh, okay.
Not bad. And this is looking a little bit not like what's actually happening, just like straight, right? Just random pattern. Looking too much like a little soldier. So return to this section of leaf and look at what the darks. Here, I'm going to take a picture up close so you can really see it. I want you to look at what's happening with that leaf. And I'll send it across so you guys can see it. Yeah, this is a thinking process. It's an analytical process. And that's what's really amazing about it. It's a system for analyzing everything spatially. And what you will find, just like the system of learning to read really helped your intellectual process, the system of learning to handwrite helped your intellectual process, you will find a system of learning to judge where things are in visual space will help everything else that you do. Everything. Because it's another tool in your toolbox. I will tell you that until I learned to draw, I really felt kind of blind. Like I knew I was picking up information visually, but I didn't know how or what it was. And hello, boo boo. And it was frustrating to me because I knew my brain wanted to be triggered to do it, but because I'd never learned to draw, I didn't have that capacity. I didn't understand what it was that I was looking at. So once I activated that, I never struggled with writing again. Honestly, I really did it. I never struggled. I don't struggle with writing. I mean, we struggle with writing when we think about what to do. And I haven't tried to write a book or anything since I've done this, but everything is a lot more clear to me, as well as kind of the visual cues. As well as the visual cues that come to us sort of subconsciously. Malcolm Gladwell talks about a little bit in his book Blink. Sometimes the visual cues are right and sometimes they're wrong, depending on all the cultural things that are behind it. So an intellectual understanding of that is really important, but also we're picking up a lot of information and not really knowing what that information is. Jackie. That was pretty good, Jackie. Maybe you should try the next one. Here's the next one. I'll send you guys a picture of it. If you want to, I can quickly sketch out so for those of you who have finished this, and we have like 45 minutes left, plenty of time, I will quickly sketch out, but I'm not gonna. Here's the next assignment. Hey, oh. Nice, Francesca, very nice. All right, yes, you guys a lot of you are ready for the next assignment. It's here. Diana will recognize this. So I'll lay this.
I actually have to go because
All
I
right.
have friends for dinner. So
All
I have
right,
to
all
cook.
right. Good. Yes, so you can you have your option. Have a wonderful evening. And great
Okay,
work
thanks
today,
a lot.
Francesca. Yeah.
Thank you for the lesson and see you next Saturday.
See you next Saturday.
Bye.
It's a date.
Bye-bye.
It's a date.
Yeah, it's a date. Yes, it's a very nice date.
It's a date.
Bye.
Bye, sweetie.
Bye.
So once again, I will sketch these very quickly for you. You guys get to decide, right? Whether you want to do this or keep working, or whether you want to leave early and have dinner. Either that in my view, you've achieved the assignment. So we've got, sometimes it takes less time. Here.
I don't know why a penguin should be so difficult. It's like the simplest little form.
Maybe you're simplifying it too much. Try looking at it upside down.
I'm not an upside down girl.
That's too bad.
Yeah, I know. I know.
It's a color issue. Also, you're tired, Diana. You just had you just did a big push. So give yourself that break too.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys are going to see, here's my line with the quarters. Here is, in this case, there are kind of 3 pieces that are important. One is this shape, right, of the Monstera or Swiss plant flowers. And then there's the shadow as well. So if you want to, if you're in the mood, You'll notice, by the way, that this line comes up a little bit higher, but that's because I'm lining it up with the top leaf. So try this again. Here, I'll make this really obvious. Use another color. Where's my yellow? Where's my yellow? Try something else, Diana. Sometimes you just got to walk away from a thing.
Yeah, I guess.
It's just, you don't have the mind, the energy for it. Okay, so here is the Monstera plant. Here is the halfway point. Here are the quarter points, they're in yellow. And then here are the 3 envelopes of shape. So if you want to try that, do it. Or just keep working on your guy. Make it perfect. I knew some people would race through this pretty fast. So, oh my goodness. I love you, buddy. Love you. You're the best cat. Sandra, yesterday he and Muka slept in the same closet
Oh, wow.
with little paws touching for about 6
That's not the
hours.
first time.
What?
I remember that's not the first time, so.
Yeah,
that's-
occasionally they do. I mean, they still, they're not buddies or anything.
My dragon and his brother, and rabbit, they sometimes cuddle, so recently.
They cuddle, really? And that is
Yeah.
kind of unusual too. I guess they
Well,
just get tired and need
It's
to.
because dragon has a different energy as he gets a bit older. He's about to turn 3.
And that changes a lot.
Yes, it's more acceptable to rabbit. Less annoying little brother.
He just gets tired. Middle age.
Actually, the you know, the deal breaker for him was when Dragon tried to suckle him as a kitten.
Oh, that.
Because he
He's just
brought
like,
him up
"No."
and he was really lovely to him. And then Dragon decided he was going to suckle Rabbit. That was the deal breaker. That was it.
I don't do that.
I had a cat, my previous cat, Jag, he let Tiger do it.
Oh, that's the magic of Jag, huh?
Yeah, he was a easygoing cat and very loving. He was like a peacemaker.
But don't you think Dragon is Jag?
No, I think Dragon is Tiger, so he also wanted to do the suckling again. But he was trying to suckle the wrong one because it would have been, he would have had to do Leon, not,
Right. Right.
in their former life, Dragon and Rabbit did not get along. And what was I thinking? That this would be okay.
Eventually it will be okay. It's just okay in a different way.
Well, but
Cats will like tell you how it's gonna be.
by the way,
Yeah,
I'm putting some
comment.
gouache highlights.
Yeah, I sent you my revised
Oh.
plot.
Yeah, let me
Wow.
hold on. Let me go grab it. I'm recharging my computer right now. Oh yeah, Bettina, nice, nice, very nice, excellent. Why don't you try the next one?
I think I may not have the energy.
This was a big lesson.
This was hard and I might be spent.
This is a big lesson. This is intellectually a huge lesson. Right? We talked about some, so you don't, yes, you totally don't have to. You can totally say, I get it. I'm done. I'm going to go have a coffee. I'm going to sit and relax. Sometimes lessons take less than 2 hours.
Yeah, so I think, I do feel good about this, but I also feel like I'm not ready to do more. I'm
Yeah.
using my eraser to take out more of the white space around the leaves, the negative.
Mhm.
And it looks really nice, but
Yeah, excellent. So
very
tell me
easy.
before you go, I should have had Francesca do this too. Tell me before you go, Bettina, what is the sort of biggest takeaway from this lesson for you?
I really liked the drawing the shapes in terms of what was in front first
Yeah.
and finding the shape of the leaves from the negative space. That really helped me.
Right. Yeah.
So that when I was trying to draw the leaves in, looking at the kind of shape that would be left behind helped me make the curves.
Yes, exactly. Which is weird. It's not the way we're used to thinking about it, right? We're used to just kind of narrowing in on that subject and kind of pushing everything else out. But if you look at the thing next to it, it helps you.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I'm very happy. I like
And what
this
about
plant.
proportions? Are you getting this concept of proportions? How they work?
I did better with that.
Yeah. Okay.
definitely.
Excellent. All right. Have a great rest of your day, my dear.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Take
Bye.
care.
Is that the crow?
Yes.
Did you feed him?
I did. He's just yapping.
Okay, I've added some shadow.
Yeah, he's totally being loud this morning, isn't he?
What do you think, Leah?
I think it's great. I love it. I love it. You're done. Don't overdo this one. Move on. Your color control. I'm appreciating your color mixing, Sandra. Remember, this was something
Well,
you
yeah,
said you
but-
weren't gonna do.
But
And
it's
now-
very, the thing is that I can do that type of mixing, which is, darkening a green, lightening a green, mixing two greens. What I'm not very good at is taking two completely different
complements.
colors and making
Yeah.
a third. When-
Yeah, the compliments. It's hard. That's okay.
Yeah.
But you're getting
I was
better.
trying to the other day. I was trying to make like what was it? Burnt sienna and that dark blue indigo.
Right.
But I wasn't. I don't know. It came out green. I was using, and in the end, I gave up. I was trying to
Dude.
find some kind of gray brown and didn't do it.
Julia, this is lovely. Number one, your lines are just gorgeous. Your mark making is just gorgeous. Number two, I love the sort of lost edge on the left side of the pot. Very, very nice.
Thank you.
Gorgeous.
Wow. Very nice.
Gorgeous. Like you're really the pencil. So do you feel like doing the second one, or are you just like, I'm tired and I want to quit? You could totally
I'm up for some art. I'm
do
rested.
it. Try this one. So try sketching in the three, areas: the pot, the envelope of the Monstera or Swiss plant, and then the envelope that's kind of triangular-ish envelope of the shadow. Sketch that in first and then send it across and then go from there. Are you finding this helpful at all?
Yeah, very much.
These
so.
lessons in terms of like how and when and where we do things and how measuring kind of plays into the process?
Yeah, I get myself in a knot sometimes because I sort of draw, well, it's the left brain, isn't it? And sometimes I get it right and a lot of the time I get it wrong.
Well, it's not the left brain. I would say that in some way you're more, Cyrus, that's beautiful. Bravo. Yeah. Yes. If you want to, Cyrus, you could put shade on the right side of the pot. A little bit more. This might be one of my favorite drawings that you did. I really appreciate your paying attention to the structure. I would say, Julia, you're one of those, you actually fall into a category of people who have a natural ability to kind of, not natural, it's, you have the attention, the focus, and the drive to kind of see things, start to see the spaces, and so you're doing it without an understanding of what you're doing, right? Like you're doing it. And so what I'm doing is backing you out to understand what it is that you're doing, which will kind of disrupt that process a little bit, at least at first. But after a while, you'll just integrate it into what you're already doing. And then you'll know how to solve better, more complex problems, right? You'll be able to kind of solve any driving problem because these measurements will, proportions and checking and envelopes and shape, you'll be able to see them more. I think what happens is for people who train themselves to do this, which is kind of what you've done, here, I'll show you. I'm going to point. You start from one starts, not you. Start from kind of the center and move outward, right? You start from one area and you move outward, which doesn't help you. And if you've observed, sometimes it's easy to make things, as you work on things, it's easy to make them too big. So sort of, if you start from this process of here and then moving outward, things get too big. So, so you're seeing these shapes, you're seeing this shape, but you're working from here and like extending out. If I'm getting my parameters first, that just helps me map out where everything is. So this is a little bit more kind of labor intensive in the front for you, but it will ultimately become much easier. It'll like, and when you get to like things that are really problems that are really difficult to solve, that just don't do the same thing as you think they should on paper, then you'll be really relieved because you'll be like, now I know how to like solve all these problems. Versus like, my friend who chops off, who is a good drawer, but chops off the sides of the people whose faces she draws like this, right? She chops off the back of the head because she doesn't know that there's a little bit more that comes back here, right? So there are problems where like, it's easy, like you'll be able to solve this problem, but you won't be able to solve this problem, right? Unless measurement and rules get into the program. So it'll feel a little disruptive at first, but then you'll just be like, it'll just lock in and it'll feel natural. For those of you who are more beginner at this, these rules are everything. Like if you don't have them, you can't even begin to start. So, all right, so try it, Julia. Let's see what we can do here. Here's the quarter points. Ooh, ooh, stop. It's chewing on my headphone cord. Here. My city boy. My city boy. Oh, my city. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Oh. You cannot have my headphones. You see it, look at this. Here, hold on. Just so, oh, now you're not being cute anymore. Now you're being pesty.
It's a very fine line.
Right? Sandra, I have to say, you've really helped me understand him. He is a magnificent cat. But he requires a certain understanding to understand how he thinks. Good boy. Ouch. Hey. Let's see. Okay. Oh, Yolanda, very nice. Very, very nice. But Yolanda, there really is not a, here, I'm going to show you. There's really not a line here. You're still putting lines in where there are no lines.
I didn't invent that. The thing is, when I enlarge the picture on my computer.
Oh, did you see it?
Yeah, I can actually see it.
I can't
So
see
it's
it. All
not
right,
like
fair
that.
enough. Fair enough. I'm going to let that slide then. Beautiful mark making here. So if you want to, Yolanda, you can try and create, you can try and draw this one. We've got another 30 minutes left, or you can just say, I'm done. I have learned.
I think I'm done with this one, but I do have a question. I was really struggling with the the top third leaf, like the one at the back. Yeah, that particular one.
Why?
When I see it on the computer, when I enlarge that, because the shape of that particular leaf, the light and shades on that particular one is like, so it's half, and then it's not like the other leaves, like half is all dark, half is all light, and this one
Well,
is
right.
like,
This
and then
one
I
is
was-
turning up. It's
Yeah.
turning up.
So
It
I
has
was-
more than 2 planes.
I was really struggling with that.
Okay.
I
So
didn't know.
intellectually, this is what you need to understand. Leaves aren't flat, right? They're not flat.
Yeah.
Like, and they're also don't just go up and down like
Right.
this,
Yes.
right? Anything that's sticking up is poking towards the light. Anything, so that just means this part of the leaf was opening towards the light, and this part of the leaf near the stem, because it was poking up at a different plane, an angle than this part, was, it's just understanding things are more complex than you think they are, right? They move. If you look at the leaf, you'd see it.
So when
Right?
when you do that, do you also do the broader kind of lights and shades?
You do the lights and shades that you can see. Don't make it more, you're overcomplicating it, as your dad would say. Do what you can see. Do what you can see. Stop thinking you know what's going on. Understand that a leaf is not a flat thing, and it's also not a thing that just goes like this, right? Leaves go up, and it's an organic thing. It goes up, it goes down, it goes over, right? And things like, so stop trying to make a rule. I can feel you trying to make a rule that's gonna make your life miserable, Yolanda. No, the rule is, look at the light shapes, look at the dark shapes. Stop trying to figure out what's going on. Just see the dark and the light shapes and understand that every time there's any object can have more than 2 shifts in plane, right? Any object. All of them can have more. And so intellectually, that should not be, you shouldn't, and you don't even have to think about what's going on. Eventually, you'll know, oh, this part is sticking up towards the light, right? The light parts are just sticking up towards the light. And then you'll start to be able to envision what's happening on a 3D surface, how that's happening in a 3D way. And you'll understand and nuance your understanding of how things are, but it's nothing more than that. And it shouldn't be hard. You should just separate what the problem that you're having is, that you're trying to understand intellectually everything that's happening, and then you want to apply a rule so that when you run into it again, you know, you'll be able, with leaves, some leaves do this where they go up and down, right? but that's not going to help you. Just know every object can turn away from the light. And when it turns away from the light, it gets darker. And when it sticks up, it gets lighter. Here's a great example. And did you do this lesson?
No.
Okay, you should go back and find the lesson and do it. It's in January. You should do this lesson, okay? Because what direction is the light coming from?
Top?
Top where?
Left.
Yes, thank you. Top left, right? These are the lightest areas. This is the darkest area. Oh my gosh, look, there is a light area in the dark part of the flower. What's happening? This is poking up. This is coming down. Try this lesson. It's more about getting the shape and the value right than it is about anything else. That's the rule. That's the only rule I want you to be concerned with right now. Don't try to, you're a strategy planner. What do you do for your job?
Me?
Yeah, what do you do for your job?
I do national digital transformation for countries.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So you're she's
very
doing a lot.
insulting.
You're trying to do a lot of strategy planning all the time, right? You're trying to anticipate every possible thing that could go wrong. You're trying to like anticipate, right? Like so I can see you're doing the same thing with this drawing project. Like you're over anticipating. And because it's a different thought process with a different set of rules, you're feeling anxious, right? Trying to like figure out what the rules are. So you can remove a lot of stress if you understand 3 things from this lesson. Lesson 1, that things are in proportion to each other, right? So once we find the vertical distance and we find those proportions, we can use these to measure everything else. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, shape is important. Rule number 3, value is important.
What do you mean by value?
What is value? Okay, you really do need to go back and do that lesson. What's value? What's value, anybody?
How dark the shade is.
Darkness and lightness
Oh, okay.
of any color. Value is the lightness or darkness of any color. Do go back and do this lesson, the Lily lesson. I think you will find it really helpful in defining some of these terms and defining what is important for you. It does not matter that this leaf is behaving differently and has different lights and darks than this leaf or than this leaf. That's not the important thing. That's not the thing to stress out about. The thing to understand is every time there's a shift in value from light to dark, there's a shift in plane. There's a change in direction. And everything has, and when you're dealing with 3D, trying to translate 3D to a 2-dimensional form, all you have is shape, value, and proportion. So those are the things you need to concern yourself with, and try not to stress about the other things. Try not to stress about what's actually happening. You'll start to pick those pieces up as you go along. So
Now,
this
what
is-
does that mean that she did, that she does? I still like to know, what does she do? What
she's
does that
stressing,
mean?
she doesn't understand, this leaf is not behaving the way she
No,
thinks it
her
should.
job, when she
Oh.
said her job.
Oh,
what does
you say
mean?
that, didn't you? I can't tell that.
What does that mean?
Well, that
Good, good.
means basically supporting.
I'm old school, so I don't know all of the new titles. They've interchanged words, and now what used to mean this doesn't mean that. So please help me. What does that mean?
Well, basically helping central governments to set up their national digital strategy and then implement that. So then can cover everything from setting up the infrastructure, setting up internet across the country to how
Wow, you're a
Yeah.
badass.
AI.
That's a hell of a talent to have for a woman to do that. That's interesting.
Well,
That's why I
yes,
asked.
woman.
yes, any woman could do anything.
Yes, right.
It started with Reuters.
That's complicated. That's a complicated.
That's how you know Gina.
So that's even more insulting that women can't do complicated things. I mean, it means
She's
Yolanda is very
brainy.
smart, but it doesn't mean, but it's strange because she's a woman.
Yeah, but traditionally, I'm saying they were jobs that men used to do. So it's nice to see women getting into a lot of
Yes,
this work.
that is
That's when they,
That
that's
is
when they thought they were the smartest. When we let them think that.
There are no men on this call, are there? By the way, those look pretty good, Julia and Jackie, so continue on. Now you can start by getting the shapes of the leaves. Don't start with the stems, actually locate the shapes of the leaves, and then you can add the stems in afterwards. Oh, Kitty, what are you doing? Stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. Geraldine, really, really beautiful shading. There is one problem here. Well, there's two problems.
Yeah.
So you missed the beginning of this lecture. I want you to observe. I'm going to point to you where the halfway point is on your vertical line, and then I'm going to show you where you put it on your drawing. Something's off, right? You know it, and you can't figure out what it is.
Yeah.
Here
Right.
is the halfway point of your vertical line, right there. Where did you put yours?
Mhm.
Your vertical distance. What is at the halfway point of your vertical distance? Measure it. Tell me. It's pretty easy to see.
So I put it further up.
What item is at the very halfway point of your vertical distance? What item?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you because
My dog is barking.
What part of the plant is at the halfway point in your drawing? What part of this plant? Measure, find the halfway point.
Okay. So yeah, the pot is too high, right?
The pot is way too high. Here's the
Yeah.
halfway point, and you have the pot up to the halfway point,
Right.
right? So that is the main kind of problem here is the lack of paying attention to the proportions, I guess. So that's the first lesson I just want you guys to make sure you get, is to pay attention. Your mark making is beautiful, but that's problematic. And then because your pot was so high, I think you're struggling to get your lines straight. So you've still got this drift thing going, right? That's kind of happening. This should be a straight down line. Other than that, very nice. You can see what happens. What happens is, if you look at Geraldine's drawing, is a great example of it. It's a nice looking drawing, right, you guys? I mean, we all agree this is a nice looking drawing. It's a good looking drawing. So she got the proportions wrong, but significantly, but because it's a good looking drawing, somebody will just look at, you'll get a lot of positive feedback for that drawing, Geraldine. You totally will. So this is the problem, right? Like, or this is the thing to be aware of. The problem is when you're trying to be precise and exact and get things the way they are, no one else is going to help you with that. They're not going to help you see that because you've just created a beautiful drawing, better drawing than what most people could do themselves, right? So you as a drawer have to really hold the line in terms of getting your proportions right, because most people will look at that drawing and go, that's great, much better than I could do, right? So it's a good drawing, like, don't get me wrong. So a lot of subjects will allow you to fudge things like that until they don't. Until they don't. And then you get stuck because you're used to a certain amount of positive feedback for your very good but proportionally incorrect drawing. And you don't know how, right, to change the way things are going. Julia, this is a little bit about what I was talking about, right? It's easy to coast on being better than everybody else, right? Being in a comparative format, it's easy to coast. I just realized that the pot is 1/3 of the way. That's another way of measuring it. It's easy to coast on this. It's not good enough in my, or it's not helpful to you to coast in my mind. This is why I'm a Nazi about this stuff. Because if you learn how to do this with a pot of flowers, you'll learn how to do it when it matters, like with a person's face or a proportion or a road going away. When you don't know what happened, it's just connected to what Yolanda said too. She was stressing out about something. She was stressing out about it rather than looking at about what was happening, rather than looking at the shapes, right? Really, if you don't focus on the shapes in proportion to everything else, your mind is going to go all kinds of crazy places. It's going to tell you all kinds.
You brought up a good point, Leah, about things that are easy for us, because we tend to take the easiest things. But when I go to therapy, my therapist is always saying the people that have had the most difficult and most entrenching, difficult, negative stuff that they've had to deal with are the people that make the most dynamic, charismatic personalities, because they've had to really fight and struggle to be who they are, right? Versus the people that are handed spoons. They don't do anything because everything is so easy for them.
It's better to think about it like this. We all have aspects of our personality that are like this. If we can get away with it, we do, right? It's a human capacity to find the easiest way across. And so good enough, just good enough. And when it comes to drawing, so few people know how to draw that it's easy to be better than almost everybody around. I'm just reading about this. This is Brene Brown writes about this in her book, Atlas of the Heart. I don't know if you've know her. Or... Go ahead. Sorry, Sandra. Go ahead.
I was just going to say where it's going to show, I suppose, if the proportions are wrong, is in an animal's face or in a human's face.
In anything. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but a plant, you know, people might not notice.
Right. However, the other plants will notice. Yeah, right. So it works with the easy things. This is a very simple assignment that I gave you guys. It was not complex, right? It's not a complex assignment. It's a simple assignment so you can see what's at play. I mean, it's a simple assignment and it's not a simple assignment, right? There's simplicity and there's not simplicity. What I want you to get is where your there's a resistance that comes into measuring because it's not a natural thing, just like there's a resistance to learning to write and a resistance to learning to read. I used to, when I was in my 20s, I lived in the basement apartment under my uncle and aunt's house, and I had a cousin who I was with him. I babysat him from the age of 3 to 5. So I watched him learn to read, and this is what I watched him do. He's a super smart kid. Half the time he was too tired and he had memorized the words. So he would state the words by memory rather than reading them. When he got tired, he would stop reading the words and he would just state what he remembered because from seeing the picture, right? That is not reading. That is memorizing. That is not like spelling out the words and like doing that. So I feel like it's a pretty human thing to, if something's easy for you, kind of resist the deeper understanding of what's happening. What I will always do, and unfortunately for you, drawing was not easy for me. So I had to learn it. And I'm going to make you understand what's happening to you, because what's happening to you is an amazing brain shift. Once you get it, you become much less anxious about a lot of things. You become much less judgmental about a lot of things. You become much more acute at picking up little tiny visual cues because you understand what you're looking at and how to look for them. Wait till you do human faces. Some of you have. You'll see that like little tiny tweaks make the difference between somebody being in a great mood and somebody being ready to kill you, right? Like it's like a millimeter up or a millimeter down make the difference, in a huge difference in emotional state, which we pick up, but we don't know why we pick up.
I'm ready to take the knife to this painting.
Yeah, stop it. Throw it away.
Why?
Throw it away. Or Diana.
Go away from it and come back. That's what I have to do.
Or put it away.
Yeah, give it a break.
Put it away. Turn it around. Don't look at it. I think you're tired, Diana. I just think you had a long, I think even the indefatigable Diana Lingaeus is
I have a
tired.
question.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'm around young people a lot. And these are some of the questions that they ask that I find that I should ask too. Who determines what makes all of this stuff true? We're all human beings and we all have all of our experiences that we bring to the table, and some of us specialize in things and some of us don't. But who determines that what you're saying and what other people say, who's to say that's true or not? Wonder if 20 years from now, somebody comes and discovers that that's the wrong way to look at it and you should look at it who's telling us what this stuff is supposed to be is what I get questioned now. Who's said that? Who's saying that? And
what I like about so if somebody were to say, who was this, there are certain skills that are literally skill-based. That like, I mean, if your grandkids came to you and said, who's to say that's how to learn to read? What would your response be? You find a better way to read, right? Like,
right now, that's the only way I know. And if you can find one better, show me and I'll use it.
Right, exactly. That's what you say. So there's a certain set of evaluative logical principles that aren't about what we think or feel. They're just about how things are. Yolanda, I hate to bring you up again, but I'm going to do it, right? Notice that, and actually Diana's really good too, right, in this situation. But I've seen all of you do it and I've done it, so I'm not singling you out. Yolanda had a hard time with the leaf in the back because she decided it was not doing what she wanted to do. She couldn't figure it out. That was you, right? Like kind of spinning that wheel. Diana is hating that penguin because it's not doing what she wants to. She can't quite put her finger on what it is, so it becomes hard. What we lay onto the thing has a lot to do, and it's not that it's not valid, but it's like what we lay onto the thing has nothing to do with the actual task at hand. So you have to kind of separate your emotional state from like that you're laying onto the thing from what it actually is doing. I find it relaxing and soothing to be able to problem solve on a canvas, right? I like that because it's not, and maybe sometimes I have to put the canvas down because I'm not thinking about the colors in the right way or the shapes in the right way, but it's a set of things that are evaluative and they're not judgmental. They're not a right or a wrong. There's just a way. A shape is a shape. A dark is a dark. A light is a light. When you put them next to each other, they showcase in a certain way. And so that's the, if somebody says, when I say how to think about it, of course, you're still going to think all the things that you think as a drawing. This is hard. This drawing sucks. I hate this. Why do I have to do it this way? I can totally do it the other way because I'm good at it, right? I bet my plant looks, Geraldine could be like, fuck you, Leah. My plant is just fine. I can show it to my family and they'll love it, and they will. I'm not arguing with you, right? Those are all the things that we lay down. But when it comes down to it, there's a way to draw because it's connected to how we perceive. And there's a way to read. There's a way to write. Yeah. And there's not so much variation between those things. So how we think about a thing in a process is different than the process itself. It affects the process.
And so what determines, you just said something, you brought up another, because I'm questioning a lot of stuff.
Sure.
I don't trust people. I don't believe what people say. I do my own research. Unless they're an expert in their field, it's an opinion, in my opinion. But anyway, you brought up another thing by saying that. You said something about light is light and dark is dark, and there are certain realities. And then you said something about
I said there's a process and then there's how we feel about the process.
Yeah, about the emotion, but it was something you said a few minutes ago in the last sentence you said. And I lost it because my mind moves too fast, but I didn't capture it.
No, but I get you. I get what you're saying. Go ahead.
Something to the effect of, then what's a truth and not a truth? Like when you paint, that's what it was. When I paint, I can't think about painting. I don't think that, I can't do that. I can't think.
Yeah,
to me, if you want to think about something, you're gonna lose the process of doing it.
That's you doing abstracted, non-figurative work. That's what the abstracted process is, right? That's a different, but my point is, you're not trying to do what looks like, you're not doing figurative representative work. This is what representative figurative work, you might have things that look like things, but you're not trying to do that. So that's a very different process than what I'm trying to do in my art, right? Other people are trying to do, right? So some people, so there are, I understand, like it's, you could, I guess, Osiris, what I would always say is always challenge yourself to think, what can I add to my process that will help in this regard?
No,
right?
my question is, when do you stop judging what you're doing it? Because every time I paint, I hear your voice, just lay it down, just put it down. What is it that you stop judging yourself and you just put it down, and then you go back and do what you have to do rather than trying to figure out what you put down in the process of actually being creative?
Well,
that's my question.
I mean, what I would say is it depends on what you're trying to do. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to represent how you feel about the thing? Are you trying to represent the thing as it actually is? I'm teaching a very specific skill, and it's a skill that everyone in this class in some way is resisting, including you, Osiris, but not excluding you. You, like everybody else, are excluded. And usually what happens is we do it because it's hard. It's not the way I'm used to thinking. I don't like to have a way of thinking enforced upon me, right? Like, but in reality, what I'm
Yes,
doing
like,
is
yeah.
I'm training you in a new model, just like your Taekwondo teacher will teach you how to do, right? Or your Qigong teacher or your somebody, they're teaching you a new way of thinking. And I'm asking you to go into that with me. Where you take that outside, what I can tell you is if you want to do figurative work, it'll become more natural and you'll be able to learn as you go along how to lay things down and correct them. It'll become a more like extreme practice. But right now, nobody here, except for maybe Diana, is really at that place. You don't have enough experience yet in this type of drawing. Now, the type of work that you do, which is really beautiful, your painting is an abstract process. You need to allow that to flow, but it doesn't exactly matter where you put things because it's an abstract piece. You're trying to
Yeah, but how
express
do you get
different
your
things.
mind? My problem is trying to get your mind like, okay, when I'm painting, I don't really need to think about what I'm doing. I paint sporadically. I get up at 2 in the morning, whatever it feels, I do whatever it comes out.
Right.
And whereas drawing,
It's a different skill.
actually become, I think it is a skill, and to me, it makes you a better painter, but it's hard for me to try to, like, I don't need to think so much, because my
Well,
mind
I
is-
understand. Nobody wants to. You're just like everybody else in this regard. Nobody wants to think this hard. And that's why I'm pushing you to think this hard. In this 2-hour period, you will think hard with me. How it plays out and everything else, that's your decision, right? What I will tell you is after a while, this gets back to your original question of what if this is not the way to think about it? But I'm not teaching you a value judgment way of thinking about things. I am teaching you a process. How that process plays out in your life, you get to make that decision. But this process, what I'm trying to point out in every state is how much we resist this process. Now, one of the things I know about resistance, particularly in the creative process, is that when you resist something, you should go towards it. Whatever you resist, you should be moving towards, because what you're resisting is a different way of thinking about things than the way we're
Growth.
used to thinking
You're
about them.
resisting growth.
You're resisting growth. So that is what I'm trying to get you to see. I will not let anybody slide on that because I know exactly how it works. I know the places that you slip because I did it too. I do it too. I'm just now used to correcting myself enough. I've now incorporated it into my process so much. I realize that I correct things so quickly that I can make 10 mistakes in a class and you guys won't even notice because I replace it so fast. I'm trying to actually slow down the process so that you can see the corrections. I'm reliant on Diana to help me point them out so that I can see them and point them out for you. But you laugh, but it's true. So I'm just trying to tell you, just like any other process, this is a process that will play out. And your resistance to it is not that it's a bad way to think, it's that it's hard. And it requires a kind of rigor, just like an exercise workout, like a Taekwondo workout or a Qigong workout or a meditation is hard. It's hard. We don't want to, our brain wants to run around and be
I'm used to hard. That's not my
peripatetic. Our brain wants to be peripatetic. Well, yeah, but I think it's interesting, Osiris, because a lot of the things that you seem to assign, and not just you, other people in this class as well, have assigned to them, what I just do this. I have trouble seeing this. I can't see the shapes. Everybody's like that. We all do. This class is the great equalizer. It's the great equalizer. Everybody has the same set of things they're struggling with, because it's different than how we're trained to do them. And everybody in the class is reacting to that, kind of where they're at. I don't know what to do. Shoot, how do I, and it's a practice as much as anything else. So it's a great question.
Isn't it because it's an arduous process, and when we don't know better, we think of art as something kind of fun and easy and kind of romantic?
Yes, Yes.
And suddenly there are rules and
There are
it's
rules.
harder.
Yes, but
You
just
have
like
to
any
use
rule,
your
right? Just
brain.
like, exactly. But once you kind of get over that fantasy, right? Like then you
I think
understand there's
eventually you
something
can
to
go
it.
back to, once you get the skills, you can probably go back to doing it more instinctively. I mean, doing it more without
Thinking about it so much. Yes.
without thinking about it, yeah, without the thinking that it's hard, and just fall back into the pleasure of it.
It's like a muscle that
It's not
needs
as
to be-
pleasurable as it seems when you don't know how to do it.
Right, right.
I think
Just
that's what
like
it is.
anything, right? Just like anything. Just like speaking Korean, right? Like,
No,
right? Like just
that's
like,
fine.
like,
But
right?
you
Like,
know from the outset that's going to be hard.
right. You don't think that like the creative process. But here's what's interesting. Once things become easy for us, I'll leave you with this thought. And by the way, Jackie, that's beautiful. Lovely work. Wonderful work.
Thank you.
Love it. One, I'm going to leave you with this thought. Once they have discovered that brain deterioration, dementia, Alzheimer's, all of these different things really accelerates once you get good at something. So once you get good at something, here, I'm going to actually remove the spotlight. I'm going to look at you all when I'm doing this. Let's go into gallery view for a second. Once you get good at something, it goes, your whole brain stops working. Your brain creates a shortcut so that it's easy for you to say, remember how to drive a car, remember how to ride a bike, remember how to read a sentence, right? Your brain stops using all of its, it creates shortcuts. That's the moment your brain starts to deteriorate.
It's because you're not
I
creating
believe you.
new
That's why when I
connections.
bought 2 Rubik cubes, I
yeah,
buy
so-
things that challenge my brain.
So
I understand that because I'm older than you. So
no,
I
we
understand.
all understand it because we all go through this. Is the human experience. Everybody goes through this. If you learn to read, if you learn to write, if you learn to talk, if you learn to ride a bike or drive a car, you went through this. It's not a special thing. It's like a very human thing. All right.
Sure.
So think about it. The moment you get good at something, your brain stops working.
That's why it's
fully.
good to always have a challenge. That's why I
The
take
moment you, yes, and one of the things that they're learning is as you're learning a new thing, all your synapses are firing. And guess what? The other ones start firing with the new ones that you're using.
And you're making new connections.
You're
new
making new
pathways.
connections, exactly.
I know about brain tapping. Trust me, I'm in all that stuff. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah, we do. We all do. You know, this is like our life. This is how we live. This is how we
I love
evolve,
it.
right? This is about. I love it. I'm sorry, you're always like, here's how different I am. I'm like, here's how you're just like everybody else. We're all like the struggle
No.
is
The
the
thing is that-
same struggle. The struggle.
Whether
I'm
I'm
trying
different
to
or not,
emphasize.
there are certain things, you know, that individually we're all different, but I'm just saying there are certain things
Yeah.
as a group that you experience as a group and then you all in. And then when you go out here as an individual, your application of what you've learned inside of the group becomes different.
Yeah,
That's all.
absolutely. That's the beauty of it, right? That's where the magic comes in. And I get you, Osiris. What you're saying is, I'm going to take this and do this in a different way. I'm going to decide when this is important and when it's not. I totally applaud that.
I
That's
use
exactly right.
I use your training and your knowledge and your wisdom. When I go to do my thing and I do it, I have to be, it just comes out the way I do it, like everybody
Right.
else.
Right, like
my
everybody else, like exactly right. And it'll be different. So notice, nobody's drawing looks the same. That's not where I'm trying to get you. I'm trying to get you to you. You'll be lucky in this lifetime if you can draw like you. You can't
That's what
draw
I
like
wanna do.
you unless you've got the skills to do that.
That's right.
And all of this emotional stuff that everybody's, the different reactions we have is you're learning it at different levels and you're applying it. We don't understand how much. I was just going to say, Brene Brown's book, Atlas of the Heart, is really good. One of the things she looks at, she's a studier of like shame and humiliation and all the things that like sort of drive humans forward. And one of the things she says is that I was just reading that there is this comparative quality. We're always comparing ourselves to other people. And here's the rub. Whether you compare yourself and you're better than everybody else, you're disappointed. And whether you compare yourself and you're not as good as everybody else, you're disappointed. It leads to disappointment, fear, and upset. That's what she said, that comparative thing. So
That makes
what
sense.
I'm trying to tell you is move you away from that towards like a more analytical system, which is a little bit less evaluative and comparative and more towards, oh, how do I solve this problem? It's a thinking
It's
system.
less emotional.
It's a thinking system. Yes. It's a
Good teacher.
system. It's a system.
That's
of
why I come back to
thinking.
your class. Otherwise.
Yeah. No, and I want you to like throw it out at me because we need to have this conversation. This is what I'm teaching you, is what I learned, what I got from drawing is all this, how this changes everything and how and why I
can
stay
learn
in it.
from you. I can learn from you because you taught children, and that's where my mind.
I tried. I don't know how well I taught him. All right, you guys, have a wonderful day, rest of your day, wherever you are. I believe Marie has a class tomorrow and so do I. So we'll see you tomorrow and going forward.
I'm turning him into an Easter
Bye,
egg.
ladies.
Bye,
Diane,
guys. Good to
walk
see
away from your
everyone.
meeting.
Bye, guys.